Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm just stopping by to tell you about a new book that I have just written. And it's called Roland on Relationships. It's a collection of almost 30 articles that I have written over the years. Now, many of my YouTube followers appreciate the things that I say and write when it comes to spirituality. And a lot of people enjoy my talks about Madame Guyon and Miguel Molinos and Teresa of Avila and St. John of the Cross and that sort of thing. But over the years, what do you suppose is my most popular topic and my most popular book? It's about relationships. Many years ago, I wrote a book called The Myths and Mysteries of Marriage. It's an excellent book. Highly recommended. But I've got a new one. It's a collection of some of my best articles about relationships. So, what are some of the titles? Well, how about what is the number one cause of divorce? That's a good. See, here's the thing. When you look at people, they get married and they expect to be happy. And something goes wrong. You look at your parents' relationship, for example. Maybe your dad was a decent guy. Now, I know some of you had a dad that was no good or a mom that was no good, but most of us had parents that were decent, halfway decent. Typical family, dad goes to work. He comes home. He watches some television, maybe. On weekends, he works out in the garage and out in the yard. And once in a while, you guys go somewhere, you go out to eat or you go on vacation. He's a decent guy. And mom, she's a nice lady. Yeah, she's maybe got a couple of issues, but she's a nice lady. And you loved your mom and you loved your dad. So the question is, why can't they just be happy? That was their intent in the first place. That was their intent. So why can't they just be happy? Something went wrong. And I don't have to tell you, but mom ends up resenting dad. And she starts to judge him. Dad resents her. Usually he starts to clam up. And then there's arguing. Sometimes there's a divorce. Why? Well, two things. Number one, you want to know why, because you just want to know why. Number two, you want to know why so that it won't happen to you. Maybe it's already happening to you or happened to you. Maybe you're in your second or third marriage now. Or you decided that just living together as partners would solve it, but it doesn't solve it. In fact, there's a problem with that. See, you have to understand. You have to understand the psychology of it, but you have to go beyond psychology. See, let's be honest. Human beings are metaphysical beings. We are a soul in a body. And so very special rules apply dealing with metaphysical beings. So I think I'll just list a couple of the chapter titles from memory. What is the number one cause of divorce? Okay, so I tell you in the article. I tell you what it is. Did you want to know what it is right now? I'll tell you. But you got to read the article or read the book. It's resentment. Resentment is the very substance of what goes wrong. See, marriage can survive a lot of things. Yeah, it can survive one or both of the partners making one or two big mistakes. It can survive partners making a bunch of little mistakes, which everybody does. See, it's a learning process. Okay, you get married and you enjoy each other. But then, as time goes by, issues develop. And depending on how you deal with those, you either become, as one man so very nicely said, he said, you either become better, you become bitter, or you become better. So do you want to become bitter, or do you want to become better? You want to become better. But you see, you can grow from those experiences. You can grow from those experiences and develop character. And you guys can become very good friends. And some do, in some partnerships, they become very, very good friends. Oh, it's so beautiful. And you want that for yourself, and you want that for your partner, don't you? Of course you do. So resentment is the number one thing, but I need to tell you need to know more. See, it's not enough just to hear me say, yeah, resentment is the problem. And then you say, oh, yeah, resentment. No, that's too shallow. You've got to see it. You have to see it more deeply. You have to see it so that you say, oh, my God. And all of a sudden you realize that you are resentful. And then you see how that contributes to what goes wrong. Okay, so that's one of the chapters. Here's another chapter. Are there no more good men left? Women sometimes wonder. You go out with a guy, and it's just, it's just, where are the good men? Well, you think, well, maybe this guy's not too bad. He's pretty good looking, and he has a good job, so maybe I can whip him into shape. Well, that's a problem too. You try to make a man, and then he'll become in your image. He'll either become a puppy dog or he'll rebel, but he still won't be a man. So that's not going to work. But anyway, there are good men out there. Yes, there are. In fact, a lot of men are far more decent than you realize. But they have some wrong ideas about marriage. See, they think that with a woman you just have to bring her flowers and chocolate or buy her dinner or give her more hugs or something like that. But that's not it. That's not it. The main thing that a man, if he wants for his family to be happy, the main thing that he has to learn is how to be a man. See, now take a look at your dad. I'm just talking, in general terms. Most dads are decent, but they fail. Communication is not good. The wife resents him. The kids resent him for not being there for them. So maybe he was good, but he wasn't good enough. See, Dad is very special. Dad is very special. In the eyes of a child, Dad stands in for God. Okay, some other chapters. Here's a good one. My wife asked me to leave. Should I? I'll give you a hint. No, don't leave. Do not leave, because if you walk out on your wife and your kids, it means something to them. It really means something. It means you quit on them. Do you remember, and I mentioned this in my article, you got to get the book. It's fun. It is a fun read. It's a page turner, and it might save your marriage. It might save your relationship. You remember there was a boxer years ago. His name was Roberto Duran. He was a great boxer. And he was one of the best of all time. But he had a fight where he was fighting, I think it was Sugar Ray Leonard, I think. But anyway, he was so frustrated. He wasn't able to hit the other guy, and the other guy kept dancing away. And meanwhile, he was getting hit. And finally, he just went, no mas. He said, no more. and just walked over and sat down on a bench and quit. Well, what do you suppose everybody remembers him for? That's it. They remember him as a quitter. So you can't walk out on your family. So if your wife asks you to leave, what do? Go sit in the living room. Watch television. Just sit there until the storm boils over. You'll be glad you didn't leave. Okay, another chapter title is My Son, A Mom's Lament. My son doesn't listen to me. Well, I think that's one of my favorite chapters, actually. Then how about my wife cheated on me, now what? Oh, that's painful. I know it is, but you need the strength. You need the strength of what do you need the strength of? I can't think of the phrase. You need the wisdom of Solomon and the strength of who was that guy? Samson, remember him? You need to be strong and wise. Very, 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 very wise. And then, of course, there's a chapter, My Husband Cheated on Me. Now, well, I talk about that. And I also mention the fact that I know that some guys are no good. They're just no good. Some women are no good. You know, and if the person is violent or they're some kind of a terrible drug addict or something like that, well, then you're better off separating. You may be better off divorcing for your protection and the protection of the kids. Yeah, you got to protect yourself. Absolutely. That's number one. But who I'm talking to are just a good guy and a good gal. Mostly when you have a couple, he's basically a good guy and she's a good gal. But things aren't working out. So you're the people that I can, that I'm mainly addressing. So those are some of the chapters. Let me think of some more chapters that I wrote. How to Forgive and Forget. Oh, that's one of my classic articles. That may be my favorite article, actually. How to Forgive and Forget. It's very important. Some people say, well, I forgave him, but I can never forget what he did. Well, then you haven't really forgiven. Because if you've really forgiven, then you'll also forget. So I think I've given you some good clues. The book is called Roland on Relationships, the best of 30 years of articles about relationships. And I think you would really enjoy it. All right, so now, it's going to be on Amazon very soon. Right now, it's available as a PDF. So if you would like to get the PDF, which I can send to you as an email, then all you have to do is go to my website, sheddingshackles.com, or sheddingshackles.net, or sheddingshackles.us, and look for donate. Click on it, make a small donation of any amount. Doesn't matter. Then I will send you the PDF of the book. It's about 300 pages. It's a very handsome book. And it's like a manual, a marriage manual, relationship manual. You can actually keep it on your shelf for years. And all of a sudden when something's going wrong, you can go get it and look and read it. You can give it to your kids, buy one for your kids. I've had, in the past, for example, with my book, The Myths and Mysteries of Marriage, they're all good. You should get that one too. It's on Amazon. I sometimes had couples where both would get it. He would get it and she would get it, and they would both read it. And it's good. In some way, some of it is tough love. Yeah, I tell the guys, hey, you gotta straighten up and fly right. And I tell the ladies, hey, you got to stop resenting and judging your husband. Stuff like that. But it's also fun. And there's some chapters about kids. See, kids are important. Very important. So I talk about kids. So I think you ought to get it. So, hope you do.